Do you know this feeling? When something you love the most suddenly starts to cause anxiety. Imagine your hands happily decorating a cake for your family. Now imagine those same hands, at 3 in the morning, tiredly responding to order messages. This isn't a success story. It's a chronicle of how passion can turn into a cage. In this video, we'll expose the psychological trap that makes us monetize every breath. And the scariest part, we build this trap for ourselves. This applies not just to cakes, but to your camera, your guitar, your code. Society has ingrained in us, if you're good at something, you're obligated to make money from it. But no one warned us about the cost. Philosopher Byung-Chul Han calls this the achievement society. Here, everyone becomes their own overseer, voluntarily exploiting themselves for efficiency. You're not just working, you're optimizing your life to the point of burnout. Today we'll explore, first, the mechanism that turns joy into an obligation. Second, 3 subtle signs that your hobby is already dead and you just haven't noticed. And third, we'll provide a clear protocol on how to reclaim your right to unproductive yet joyful rest. Watch until the end to understand how to save what you love. It starts with a simple headline on your phone: 5 ways to monetize your hobby. It's presented as friendly advice, but it's actually a command. A command from a society where every minute must be efficient. Rest is no longer recovery. It's lost profit. And a hobby isn't an outlet, but an untapped asset. Your right to do nothing has been quietly stolen and replaced by the obligation to be productive. This idea isn't new. It's a direct legacy of the Industrial Revolution, when time was first equated with money on the factory assembly line. The difference is that today, we're building this assembly line directly into our brains, forcing every free minute to produce measurable value. For our confectioner, baking was a form of meditation, a moment when the world narrowed down to the scent of vanilla and the texture of dough. But as soon as the first client appeared, that meditation transformed into a production process. Every gram of flour became a cost. Every minute by the oven was work time. Every successful cake wasn't a cause for joy, but a reference for future orders. Optimization killed the magic. Now answer honestly, when was the last time you did something just for the sake of it? Not for a social media photo, not for your resume, and not with the underlying thought, I could probably sell this. Just for yourself. Remember that feeling. If it's hard to recall, you're already in the trap. This breakdown isn't mystical, it's pure psychology. Every action is fueled by one of 2 energies, intrinsic or extrinsic motivation. A hobby thrives on intrinsic motivation. You do it because the process itself brings you joy. Work relies on extrinsic motivation. You do it for money, praise, or recognition. The moment you put a price tag on your passion, a fatal shift occurs. Psychologists call this the overjustification effect. In a classic Stanford University experiment, children who loved to draw were given rewards for their drawings. But once the rewards were removed, the children almost completely stopped drawing. The external reward killed their intrinsic interest. Your money and likes are that same reward that kills your love for the process. The joy of creation is replaced by anxiety over results. You're no longer a creator, you're a service provider. Your hobby was supposed to recharge you for your main job. It was your docking station. But by turning it into a second job, you've simply plugged in another device that drains you. Now you have not 1 but 2 sources of fatigue. This shift in motivation doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow poison. There are 3 stages of this poisoning, 3 clear signals that your passion has turned into a zombie. And the first one is likely something you consider your greatest achievement. The first red flag is an obsession with metrics. You no longer ask yourself, did I enjoy this? Instead you ask, how many likes did that post get? Not, did I learn a new chord? But, how many views did the video get? The joy of the process is replaced by a craving for external validation. Your brain, in essence, gets reprogrammed. The dopamine system, which once rewarded you for the act of creation itself, is now retuned to cheap external hits, likes, comments, orders. You're training yourself like an AI to value only what the market approves, rather than what brings inner peace. Our confectioner stopped experimenting with lavender cream for her own pleasure. Instead, she Googles top 5 most popular cake fillings of 2024. Her creativity is now dictated not by inspiration, but by search engine optimization. She bakes not what she loves, but what sells. The second stage is a shift in your internal dialogue. The phrase "I want to draw" transforms into "I need to finish this order." The word "want" is the language of freedom. The word "need" is the language of duty. As soon as your passion becomes an item on a to-do list, alongside pay bills and take out the trash, the magic has evaporated. It's no longer an escape from routine. It's its new, most insidious part. In the world of coding, this is called transitioning from the sandbox to the system core. The sandbox is a safe place for tests where errors have no consequences. The core is the foundation, where any glitch threatens disaster for the entire day. Now look at this through the client's eyes. For them, it's just a cake. They don't know they're buying a piece of your burnout. For them, it's a transaction. For you, it's an existential crisis in frosting. This gap between perception and reality is the fuel for your constant anxiety. And finally, the ultimate stage. You start to panic at the thought of making a mistake. Previously, a failed cake was a reason to laugh with friends. Now it's a financial loss and the risk of a scathing review that everyone will see. The stakes have risen. And when the stakes are high, creativity and experimentation are the first to die. Harvard researcher Teresa Amabile proved this through decades of work. When people know they are being evaluated, their creativity plummets. They choose the safest, most proven paths. Your fear of a negative review is that very evaluator suffocating your innovation. You start doing only what's guaranteed to succeed. Your hobby has become an assembly line, and now it's dead. It looks alive, it brings in money, but inside, there's emptiness. You continue doing it not just because of deadlines, but because of hidden psychological costs that success courses won't tell you about. The first of these costs is the loss of the sacred right to make mistakes. A hobby was the only place in your adult life where you could fail without repercussions. It was a sandbox for your brain. Dr. Stuart Brown, founder of the National Institute of Play, asserts that such play for adults is not a luxury, but a necessity, like sleep. It's responsible for our adaptability and problem-solving abilities. By monetizing a hobby, you turn this sandbox into a minefield. Now every misstep can cost you your reputation or money. What follows is something worse. Your identity becomes a commodity. The phrase, "I am a photographer," felt like a part of your essence. But when it transforms into, "I provide photography services," your self merges with your business. And if the business performs poorly, you feel like you are inadequate. Criticism of the product is perceived as criticism of your person. Your hobby was your psychological anchor, something stable and solely yours, regardless of your work success. By turning it into a business, you've lifted that anchor. Now, when the market storms, so do you. You no longer have a quiet harbor. Imagine a scale. Self-esteem risk level. For a hobby, the needle is in the green safe zone. For a side hustle, it shoots into the red. Notice no one forced you to put your self-esteem on the line. We do it voluntarily, chasing success and fulfillment, not realizing we're gambling with the most valuable thing, our mental health. And the worst part is, even if you decide to quit everything and return to a hobby for the soul, it's often impossible. It's not just bad memories, it's neurobiology. According to Hebb's law, your brain has created a strong neural connection between, for example, the sight of a guitar and stress hormones like cortisol rather than joy hormones. To break this connection can take months, sometimes years, of conscious effort. The scent of fresh baking now triggers not joy, but phantom anxiety about deadlines. You don't just lose a hobby. You burn out an entire part of your life. This picture may seem hopeless, but there is a way out. There's a 3-step protocol that can either help you revive your passion or, equally important, teach you how to let it go without guilt. And the first step is an honest audit. Take a sheet of paper and divide it into 2 columns. On the left, write process. On the right, result. In the left column, list everything that brought you pure, unadulterated joy in your passion. The smell of paint, the feel of clay in your hands, the thrill of finding a new riff. In the right, list everything that brings money, likes, and approval. A completed order, an enthusiastic comment, growth in followers. Now, look at the left column. If it's empty or if you struggle to find a few items, it's no longer a hobby, it's a job, and you need to treat it as such, with all its rules and boundaries. The second step, if you're not ready to abandon this business, create a wicked twin for it. Do you bake perfect custom cakes? Excellent. But once a week, you're obligated to bake the strangest, ugliest, most experimental cupcake just for yourself. And you are strictly forbidden from photographing it. This is your creative sanctuary, a place where market laws, deadlines, and external expectations cannot penetrate. It's an act of conscious sabotage against the tyranny of productivity. You intentionally create something useless for the market, but priceless for your inner creator. The third step is to erect physical and temporal walls. One laptop for orders, another for personal projects, one set of tools for work, another for play. Clear hours when you respond to clients, and sacred time when your phone is off and you simply draw for yourself. Psychologists call this context management. Your brain associates certain objects and places with specific tasks. By working on your hobby business at the same table where you relax, you erase these mental boundaries. Your brain stops understanding when it's okay to unwind. Physical separation is the simplest switch to toggle between modes. Now ask yourself one question. If you were offered double the pay for your side hustle, but you would come to hate it, would you accept? There's no right answer here, but your honest response to yourself will reveal what truly fuels you, money or peace of mind. This is your personal lie detector, exposing your true motivation. Sometimes, saving a hobby is no longer possible, and the bravest, strongest step is to admit defeat and let it go. To tell yourself, this was a wonderful passion. It turned into a job that exhausts me, and I have the right to end it. This isn't a failure. It's the highest act of self-care. Think of it as the Marie Kondo method for your passions. You hold this hobby, mentally thank it for all the joy it once brought you, and consciously release it because it no longer sparks joy. This isn't a tragedy. It's a decluttering of the soul, and it frees up an enormous amount of mental energy for something new, for a passion that will simply be a passion. But for these steps to work, you need more than just technique. You need to change your entire philosophy towards rest. You need to relearn to value a simple yet almost entirely forgotten idea. This idea is the right to meaningful unproductiveness, to activities whose sole purpose is the process itself, not the result. Activities that don't make it into a portfolio, don't become a line on a resume, and don't earn a single cent. Doing puzzles, aimlessly wandering unfamiliar streets, watching clouds without trying to photograph them. This isn't laziness. It's fundamental hygiene for your nervous system, as vital as sleep. Even the ancient Romans intuitively understood this. They clearly distinguished between negotium, time for business, duties, and affairs, and otium, sacred time for reflection, learning, and creation for its own sake. Our achievement culture has orchestrated a quiet revolution. It has almost entirely destroyed otium, leaving us only negotium and its ugly twin, productive rest. Reclaiming your right to unproductiveness means staging a rebellion and taking back your otium. Imagine your passion as a small garden behind your house. You could turn it into a commercial farm. Then you'd have to think about pesticides, weather forecasts, logistics, and market prices for your produce. Every sprout would become an accounting unit, every bed, a line item of income or loss. Or you could simply leave it as a garden, a place where you come to soothe your soul, where you can plant a strange flower just because you like it, and not worry if it doesn't thrive. The choice is always yours, farm or garden, production or sanctuary. Our entire conversation today can be condensed into a simple self-rescue protocol, a 4-step checklist. First, Conduct an audit. Ruthlessly and honestly ask yourself what in your passion still energizes you and what drains your energy. Second, build walls. Create physical and mental boundaries between work and play. Different tools, different times, different spaces. Third, legalize unproductiveness. Find at least one activity you do just for the sake of it, with no goal and no audience. This is your personal act of resistance against the culture of productivity. And the fourth, most liberating step, remember your right to exit. You can stop at any moment. It's not a defeat. It's a strategic retreat for self-preservation. Ultimately, this entire struggle against burnout, this entire defense of our passions, it boils down to one fundamental question. Who is our main enemy? What truly kills what we love? Is it the external pressure of society, whispering in our ear that every minute must be sold? Or is it our own inner critic, our insatiable desire to monetize everything to prove our worth to ourselves and others? This is a complex question, and the answer is unique to each of us. But we ask you to make a choice. Write just one word in the comments that you believe is the root cause, society or desire. Let's see what prevails within us.